And there's a reason for this. You see, judgment against Edom is mentioned in more Old Testament books than it is against any other foreign nation. In fact, there's one whole book that's just for the nation of Edom. And it's nothing but judgment coming upon them. And if you want some scriptures for me to give you, let me just throw out some scriptures that talks about judgment coming upon Edom so you can see how many times and how many places it's pronounced coming upon Edom. You have Isaiah chapter 11 verse 14, chapter 34 verses 5 through 17, chapter 63 verses 1 through 6, Jeremiah chapter 9 verses 25 through 26, chapter 25 verses 17 through 26, chapter 49 verses 7 through 22, Lamentations chapter 4 verses 21 and 22, Ezekiel chapter 25 verses 12 through 14, verse 35, Joel chapter 3 verse 19, here in Amos chapter 1 verses 11 and 12, and also in chapter 9 verses 11 and 12, the whole book of Obadiah, Malachi, even Psalms. All of these different places God pronounces judgment upon Edom. And it's not because God is picking on Edom, it's because Edom was guilty of harboring an everlasting hatred towards Israel. But that's also why there's so many problems in the Middle East today.
Now, when you look at Amos chapter 1, you have Gaza, Tyrus, and Edom. 3 nations. You see, now Gaza is the Arabs, because Gaza sold Israel to Edom. Tyrus is a Hamite, dark nation, African. They sold Israelites to Edom. And Edom bought Israelites. You see, Edom wasn't, the Arabs can't be Edom because they never sold, they don't have anybody in captivity as of yet. They had, in the past, Israel in captivity, but they don't have Israel in the captivity. And especially those people that's in the land now saying that they're Israelites, they're not in captivity to the Arab. So the only nation that can fit Edom is the ones who received the Israelites. And this matches the transatlantic slave trade, because you had in the sub-Saharan slave trade, only 2 major slave trades in the history. Let's look this up. Okay, it says the 18th century, the largest numbers of enslaved people were taken to the Americas during the 18th century, when, according to historians, estimates nearly 3/5 of the total volume of the transatlantic slave trade took place. The slave trade had devastating effects in Africa. You see, so there was no other slave trade going on other than the transatlantic slave trade. Okay, and Amos chapter 1 matches up with Joel, and they're right next to each other. Joel chapter 3. It says, and they have cast lots for my people, and have given a boy for an harlot, and sold a girl for wine that they might drink. Now that's another clue that this is talking about the transatlantic slave trade, because you have a boy for a harlot. We know that the boys in the transatlantic slave trade was being sexually taken advantage of. If you see the movie, what was the name of that movie? Um, it's a slavery movie. I forgot the name of the movie, but you get sold a girl for wine. The slaves created the rum and the whole liquor industry. Rum became famous uh, from the time of George Washington and that slave trade situation. And so it's details telling you why was they sold, what was going on when they was being sold. Then this Joel talks about Tyre and Zion and Palestine. Same way Amos said Gaza and Tyre. And then it tells you who the Edomites was. Verse 6, the children also of Judah and the children of Jerusalem have he sold unto the Grecians. The Arab was never known as Grecians. See, the Arabs was never known as Grecians.